the good old summertime, in the good old summertime.
Do we have any reporting of how the crowd or indeed Jessop reacted when he brought up his 100?
Well, it's a good question how Jessop reacted. We don't actually know what he did particularly, but we do know. I'm pretty sure he didn't sort of throw both arms up in the air and sort of run around and kiss his cap and all that stuff. Pretty sure that didn't happen. But the crowd did celebrate, and again, we imagine, and I don't think it's completely wrong, is that people were far less. The public were far less demonstrative in those days than they would be now. But a lot of the eyewitness reports, do describe how sort of crazy the crowd went. They were delirious with excitement, really. And as you've read out the quote about the crowd, waving their hands and handkerchiefs and hats and the rest of it. Well, that happened again when he got to his 100, and bowler hats were being thrown in the air, and there was general mayhem, really. And what the accounts do describe is how the celebration was so sort of widespread that the game actually stopped. Well, now again, when a player gets to 100, we're sort of quite used to the idea that the game stops for a couple of minutes whilst they celebrate. But I think in those days it was very unusual. But some of the reports say that the game stopped for several minutes. So, or some of them said a couple of minutes, some said several. There was clearly quite a delay before the game could resume. So that gives us a good idea that it was mayhem, really, in the crowd. There was such excitement, as there would be later when England win the game. So I think the behaviour of the crowd on that day was a bit of I would say maybe it hadn't been seen before at an English ground. I think certainly in the English Test match, I can't think of an occasion when it might have happened. I suppose when Australia beat England for the first time in 1882 at the Oval, that would have been a shocking event. But given that England lost, I think there would have been a stunned silence rather than delirious cheering. So, and there wouldn't have been many Australians in the ground. So I think this was probably new territory in terms of crowd behaviour in England. I think a lot of people commented on the celebrations, and I think that's because it was unusual.
Yeah, and we also have to think, he scored his century, which is a remarkable individual feat. But at this point, the crowd's also cheering because they're still in the game, which when he walked to the crease seemed very unlikely.